Good afternoon, everyone. It is now 2:08 p.m., April 12th, 2023. And I want to welcome everyone to your Senate chamber. And we are here today, this afternoon, to vet the nomination of Mr. Joseph Patrick P. Fitial, nominated to be a commissioner at the Civil Service Commission. And before we begin with the introductions and the formality of this meeting, I'd like to introduce everyone to the members of the Legislative Bureau staff who are here with us today. We have our counsel, Mr. Joe Bermudez. We have our legislative assistant, Mr. Devin Macaronis. We have our IT personnel manager, Jonathan Diaz, and assistant, Mr. Delbert Camacho. And to keep decorum in the chamber, we have our Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Ben Terlahi. And at this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Devin Macaronis to call the roll.
Senator Selena R. Babauta,
Present.
Senator Paul A. Mangonia, Senator Donald M. Mangonia,
Present.
Senator Dennis C. Mendiola. Madam Chair, all members of the Senate EAGI committee are present.
Thank you, Mr. Macaronis. With all members present, we have the necessary quorum to conduct today's business. And next item on the agenda, we have the adoption of the agenda. And I'd like to recognize Senator Paul Manglonia for the proper motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move for the passage of our agenda this afternoon.
Motion has been made and has been seconded. Are there any concerns on the motion? If not, all those in favor,
Ready.
please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Today's agenda is hereby duly adopted. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Oscar Babauta, Special Assistant for Administration, and the nominee, Mr. Joseph Patrick Fitial, to join us in the chamber. And Mr. Babauta's role here is to formally introduce the nominee to the committee. Mr. Babauta, you may proceed when you are ready.
Madam Chair, then thank you very much to you and the esteemed EAGI committee. Buenas tardes, good afternoon, hafaday, dan tiro para todos sa talo. Once again, and many more to come. The honorable members of this committee. For the record, my name is Oscar M. Babauta, the Special Assistant for the Administration for the Office of the Governor. On behalf of Governor Arno I. Palacios and that of Lieutenant Governor David M. Apatang, I thank you again for the opportunity to appear before you and your esteemed members of this august body primarily for the introduction and, of course, the hearing of our administration's nominee. I'm here to officially introduce the governor's nominee for the Civil Service Commission, member Mr. Joseph P. Fitial, who is currently seated to my right, a young, fine gentleman from above Guararay area. Mr. Fitial is a professional individual with over 9 years of experiences in both the public and private sector. From 2014 to 2015, he was an operations associates at Guitar Center in San Diego. You do play guitar, right? Great. California, while being a college student, he then became the marketing agent and sales distributor for Allegiance, a company in California in 2017 before moving to media captioning services in Carlsbad, California in 2018. Serving as the master scheduler and captioning coordinator. In 2018, he moved to H&R Block as the administrative specialist in the San Diego office until 2019, when he became the associate vendor, credentialing coordinator, and associate vendor credential analyst for AM and healthcare. He then returned to the cinema in March 2021 as a human resources strategist for the Commonwealth Health Center in Saipan before becoming the Human Resources Relation or Retention Manager in April 2021. He is currently the Human Resources Employee Relations Coordinator since October of 2022. Mr. Fitial studied media communications at Rosemont College in El Cajon, California from 2006 to 2010. He then graduated from San Diego State University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in communication in 2014 and obtained his Master's of Communication Management at the University of Southern California. Better work for KKMP. Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apatang places their full trust and confidence in this young fine gentleman, Mr. Joseph Patrick Fitio. Places their full trust and confidence in Mr. Fitio himself to serve in the Civil Service Commission. I know he stands ready to answer to any inquiries, Madam Chair and members, of his proposed plans for the future of the Civil Service Commission in the Commonwealth. His long history of professional services, credentials, and commitment to serve the Commonwealth in his capacity makes him a viable candidate, and we kindly ask for your expeditious approval and humbly extend the same sincere gratitude from the administration for conducting this hearing this afternoon. And we sincerely appreciate your expedited acknowledgement of our nominee towards the full Senate body. Thank you very much. Dan si Jesus Masi Talambay dan Gilisore to all of you. Jesus Masi dan Buenos tardes tal.
Jesus Master, Mr. Babata, before I open the floor for public comments, I'd like to ask everyone to please silence your cell phones or electronic devices at this time. And then we will move on to, and I will now open the floor for public comments.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ray Muña. I am the chairperson of the Civil Service Commission, and I'm here in full support for the nominee, Mr. Joseph Patrick Fittel. On a personal level, our relationship actually predates our birth. His father, Governor Fittel, and my grandfather, the late Vice Speaker Jess Mofnas, were actually best friends back in the day. And we went to school together. We're both alumni of Mount Carmel School. Mr. Fittel, one thing I admire about Mr. Fittel is that his decision to return back home to the CNMI. We have a lot of graduates who graduate from college and decide to make their base university home. Unlike Mr. Fittel, he came back home and is willing to serve. So with that, I look forward to his confirmation, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Muña. The floor is still open.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to show my support for Mr. Fitial's nomination to the Civil Service Commission. By the way, I'm sorry, my name is Francis T. Salas. I'm the Director of the Office of Personnel Management. I would like to show my support and ask that we move forward with his confirmation. I believe that with the current board, I'm very confident that with the addition to him as being a commissioner, we will be able to move forward and accomplish many positive things for the CNMI government employees. We still have a lot of work to do, and I ask that we also consider filling I believe, 2 more positions that are available, that are currently vacant. But I am here again to show my support to Mr. Fitial. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Salas. The floor is still open.
Madam Chair and members of this EAGI committee, thank you for allowing me to testify in support of the confirmation for Mr. Joseph Patrick Fitial, a governor's appointee to be a member of the Civil Service Commission. For what I know, Mr. Fitial is an educated person. He possesses a bachelor's degree in communication from San Diego State University and a master's in communication management from the University of Southern California. The type and level of education that he possesses is sufficiently adequate to be employed in many job occupations or be a part or member in any boards or commission in the CNMI. In this case, a member of the Civil Service Commission. Although his work experience is not extensive in terms of time, however, he's quite diverse, giving him the opportunity to attain a wide range of perspective in the area of sports and recreation, music operations and performance, marketing and sales, media, taxation, and healthcare. He is currently working at CHCC in the area of human resources and has progressively occupied positions as a HR strategies, retention manager, and now he is the employee relations coordinator. I am sure that his knowledge, skills, and abilities that he possessed over the years from going to school and working will help him a lot in performing and becoming a productive member of the Civil Service Commission. For these reasons, I humbly ask for this committee to please support and confirm the nomination of Mr. Joseph Patrick Fitial as a new member of the Civil Service Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I have you state your name and the agency you represent for the record?
My name is Joseph M. Pangilinan, and I'm the Chief for Employee Development and Staffing, Civil Service Commission, OPM Civil Service Commission.
Thank you, sir. The floor is still open.
Hey, good afternoon. For the record, I've already submitted my testimony to the committee.
That's correct.
And if there are no objections, I hope you guys don't mind that I read such statement into the record.
No objections.
Okay. Hafide Tiro, and good afternoon, honorable members of this August committee. My name is Cameron S. Nicholas. I am presently employed by the Legislative Bureau, serving in the position as a legislative assistant for the House of Representatives. However, I testify before you today as a private citizen of our Commonwealth. It is with great honor and privilege that I render this written testimony to express my unequivocal support for the nominee, Mr. Joseph Patrick P. Fitial, to the Civil Service Commission representing the Third Senatorial District. I've had the honor and privilege to know Mr. Fitial for more than 20 years, dating back to our days at Mount Carmel School. From our time at Mount Carmel all the way until now, the nominee has and always will be one of the most understandable and level-minded individuals I have ever known. This man is like my brother. It is no secret that this gentleman sitting before you here today is my golf buddy. We have played countless rounds together, and within those rounds, we always have the most fruitful discussions on how we can contribute to making the CNMI a better place. As we fervently discuss such possibilities, even at times when we drive up to the green so I can try and secure my triple bogey, I can sense Mr. Fitial's desire and willingness to serve and contribute to the CNMI. As an individual who worked in human resources in the healthcare system for nearly 4 years, it is apparent that he understands the concept of personnel and will serve as a tremendous asset to the Civil Service Commission in coming up with solutions that will propel the Commission in a positive direction. Prior to returning back home to the Commonwealth, Mr. Fitial lived in San Diego, California for well over a decade. Throughout his time in San Diego, he has earned a bachelor's degree from San Diego State University and a master's degree from the University of Southern California. Equipped with the tools he has gained in earning his educational credentials, along with the aforementioned experience in working in the Human Resource Division in the healthcare system, he has returned home and is willing to share the knowledge and experiences he has acquired while living in California. Furthermore, Mr. Fitial represents a newer generation of young, knowledgeable, and talented individuals who are willing to serve our great Commonwealth. With his nomination, I can assure you that the Civil Service Commission will gain an excellent asset. In granting his nomination, Mr. Fitial will bring a whole new set of knowledge and experiences that can supplement the Civil Service Commission's decision-making ability. In conclusion, I would like to express my sincerest gratitude to the committee in allowing for me to submit this testimony in hopes that it would provide insightful information in granting Mr. Fitial's nomination. Jesus Mosi, Hiliso, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholas. Please submit your written comments to our Sergeant at Arms. The floor is still open.
Good afternoon. My name is Fred Peters de Leon Guerrero. I used to be a member in the House on the other side. And I'm here to support, I call him Patrick. I've known Patrick for a long time. Even when he was in high school, we played music together. Okay, this is before he became very educated or what. But this guy was always smart. You know, he knows how to really put music together. If you know how to write music, if you know how to organize music, there is a format to getting it done that you can't find. You know, you have to think. And that's what we need in the CNMI right now. Thinkers, people who can think. You know, we've had our times where we've had leaders. Some think, some don't. But I think putting him in this position, that's a new generation of thinkers, people that can do some really good, positive work for us, will work. Because we're all nearing the end of our road. You know, I think about I'm going to be 60 in a couple of years, and I still freak out. But when I see that this guy's going to be taken over, I feel really good. So I want to ask your support for him, please. These are the kind of people we need. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De Leon Guerrero. The floor is still open.
Good afternoon. Half a day in Tiro. My name is Jasmine Che, and I am here on behalf of my sister Jacqueline Che to support the nomination of Joseph Patrick P. Fitial to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission. The mission of the Civil Service Commission is to dispense prompt, fair, and impartial resolutions of employee grievances and appeals, and to develop and promulgate regulations and processes necessary to uphold the civil service personnel system, free from coercion and political influence in the delivery of quality services to the people of the Commonwealth. I can assure you that Joseph Patrick, with his education background, communication degree, and experience in human resource, will be an invaluable asset to the Civil Service Commission. He is ethical, of good moral character, and you can count on him to do what is right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Che. The floor is still open. If there are no more individuals who wish to make public comments, I now ask the nominee to please rise and raise your right hand, and I will recognize the legislative assistant to administer the oath.
Mr. Joseph Patrick P. Fitial, you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may be seated. Welcome, Mr. Fitial. At this time, I will open the floor to you. If you would like to make any opening statements or introduce any families, you may do so at this time.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, honorable members of the Senate and the committee. My name is Joseph Patrick P. Fitial. I'm here humbly and grateful for all of you taking the time to review my qualifications, my credentials, and to learn a little bit more about me. I believe I have a lot to offer. Being one of the younger generation uh, personnel specialists, if you want to say, coming over here with a lot of perspective based on all the years I spent in San Diego. As mentioned by a couple of those who spoke, I've worked in very versatile fields, whether it's music, retail, selling cable and internet from door to door, marketing, taxes to healthcare. I think that's what's needed in the personnel realm for individuals to be able to address different perspectives and know how staff are feeling from different sides. I'm not just a healthcare personnel person. I think I've seen a lot of different kinds of personnel in the states. I've experienced a lot at school when it comes to diversity, and I think all of those things come together and made me want to come back home and be a public servant. Did I see it coming? Nope. I was just on the golf course every week, every weekend, just thinking about if I should come home or not. And here I am, willing and humbly willing to serve the public. Um, and I got a lot of praise and thanks to my dad, former Governor Benigno Fitial, for kind of setting me up and keeping me a thinker growing up. And I think, as Fred mentioned, that's what's needed. Not only the younger generation to come in and start leading, but a group of thinkers. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you. You are here today, Mr. Fittel, because it is the legislature's authority to vet, especially the Senate. This is a process unique to the Senate, and that is why you are here this afternoon. This is the legislature exercising its authority under law to vet and the credentials and experience of a nominee. And it is the Senate that will, or this committee that will recommend to either confirm or reject your nomination to the full Senate body. And that is why you're here today. At this time, I will open the floor to other members to pose any questions of the nominee. And I now recognize Senator Donald Minglonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, Mr. Fitto, and good
afternoon.
afternoon to all of you here present today and those viewing online. I just want to start off with first just understanding what you currently do with the CHCC as a human resource employee relations coordinator. Is that still what you're currently doing, and what are some of the duties?
Senator Manglonia, that is exactly what I'm doing at the moment. I came into CHCC as a HR strategist to develop ideas for the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation. Later on, I became a retention manager to help the retention numbers, improve employee engagement, retention, the performance evaluation process, and salary adjustments, which I learned a lot from doing that work. I now am the employee relations coordinator, where I address all employee relations matters, personnel matters, mostly grievances and disciplinary actions, efforts towards retention, employee engagement, employee recognition, and also any other activities or programs such as the Summer Youth Program, which has been running annually and is about to start revving up again in about a month.
Thank you. Thank you for going into detail, which kind of leads me into a lot of the questions I want to ask today. But just in regards to your experiences with grievances, have you had, how have you handled those grievances as, looking into coming in only 2 years ago? What are your experiences around dealing with these grievances?
Yeah, I came and actually had never worked with grievances in San Diego. I was more on the credentialing side. And when I came to CHCC, I picked up the disciplinary action process. And I learned a lot there. I learned a lot of the nuances. I learned a lot of the legal issues. And just as the mission statement reflects for the Civil Service Commission, it's about fair and impartial resolutions for me. So I do take as much time as I can, although we want to finish promptly with all cases. I do spend a lot of my time trying to assess both sides to make sure I'm making the right decision, the fair decision, and nothing that's influenced by any politics or outside influences.
Okay, and so you've seen these grievances go through its entire process until these cases were closed?
Absolutely. I
Okay.
do the legwork for most of the disciplinary action cases in CHCC, from the beginning reports to the investigation process, to the discussions with the AG's office. I work a lot with Assistant AG Stephen Anson on a weekly basis to make sure that we're covering all our grounds and we're going through the process correctly.
Okay, thank you for that. That's good to hear. You mentioned something briefly about pay. Did I get that correctly?
Right.
Employee payment or
Mhm.
employee pay. Were you successful in analyzing these pay? I don't know if you would call it differentials or pay inequities, and if so, were you or your team successful in trying to get the right pay for the work that these individuals do for CHCC?
Right. When I was the retention manager in CHCC, there was a lot of issues that we had to address regarding pay. I had a lot to learn. I didn't do too much in salary. I did more employee engagement, even though I was labeled as the retention manager that handled salary adjustments. It was more learning during the first few months, and then I finally kind of got comfortable in that position and assessing everything in alignment with the new pay scale, which is kind of what helped us figure everything out.
Okay, and so the board did adopt the new pay scale. Is that
This
understanding?
is the CHCC pay scale.
And so it was successful in terms of getting that
Yes.
applied to all employees. Okay, which kind of brings me into the central government side. Do you see any issues in regards to pay scale within government employees? Or
Well,
and-
in CHCC, I think everything's pretty fair as long as everyone's following the guidelines, and we have salary adjustments that are aligned with the pay scale, and that's all we ask for. When it comes to our meetings, like I just had a couple meetings with the Civil Service Commission, and I'm learning a lot about certain pay levels and steps that should be or should not be addressed. So when it comes to that, I'm just thinking about fairness and merit, which is also what's reflected in the civil service mission and values.
Thank you for that. The next question I have is in regards to if confirmed by the Senate, what do you feel may be an area within the commission that, or an area within the government that you feel the commission would need to look more into?
Where they need to look more into?
Yes.
I think in this economic crisis, we have to focus a lot on budget and also merit. There's a lot that we've been discussing in these meetings, and I think, when it comes to merit, I think that's my focus.
Okay. Thank you. What about
And that kind of comes from just being from a performance evaluation background. Yeah.
all right. What is your opinion on a drug-free workplace? For example, if someone gets caught in a random drug test to have positive results on,
Well,
methamphetamine or anything like that.
If it's that serious, I mean, I'm thinking it's zero tolerance is the aim, and depending on the situation. I think if they were to have the opportunity to get help, I think that should also be a primary concern. Because instead of just taking away their jobs, we should be helping them. And if it comes to that case, they'll be more prepared after leaving that position to kind of improve themselves and find a better route.
So would it be your position that we should have a zero tolerance workplace, but at the same time assisting these
Yes.
individuals to seek treatment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And one thing that I do want to just bring to your attention, and something that you can look at if confirmed, is just like I mentioned earlier, the pay amongst our employees, especially those in the law enforcement field. We are seeing a lot of what's going on in the news in regards to corrections and DPS and all these actions that are questionable, and maybe that has something to do with the pay. There's nothing. When you compare how much our people, and particularly our law enforcement officers, make compared to our neighbor Guam, or even American Samoa, or eh, we're on the bottom of that list. And so and this also goes into other the agencies. A lot of our people in Rhoda are being hired as trainee or cadets because there's I don't know if the qualifications are too high or are not considerate, or maybe we're not offering enough trainings and courses for our employees to reach certain levels of qualifications. And so one of the goals of the commission is to provide trainings for our employees. And I think that's where one area of focus that the commission can look into is providing more trainings to our employees, especially phone etiquette. That's something that is really something we struggle with when we make calls to agencies. And so I hope that's something you've confirmed. That's something that you can also include as part of your goal in trying to get our agencies to be more efficient, as well as becoming more qualified, or even trying to encourage them to seek higher education or go to NMTI to get better trained so that they can perform their job more professionally. And this would also kind of get rid of the problems that the commission may have in dealing with the employees who are not qualified, and trying to correct any actions caused by them and stuff like that. And so that is all I have for now, Madam Chair, and I yield.
Thank you, Senator Magnolia. Recognize Senator Dennis Mendiola.
Buenas, Mr. Fitial. So I'm looking at your credentials, and you got a lot of your education pretty much revolves around communication. I think it's a great tool for our Civil Service Commission, to avail to that expertise or that knowledge that you have. So with that, I'm just interested to know, given your communication education, how do you plan to integrate that, should you get confirmed, into the Civil Service Commission to try and reach our employees, our federal, our government employees, and probably promote more of our retention? Because the reason why I'm asking this, or the reason why this is kind of off the forefront, is that we see a lot of our employees. We send them to training, like academy, for example. No, you send them to academy, they graduate. They serve the the department for like 6 months and leave. So I guess the issue comes down to just retention. So how do you plan on, or what are your thoughts on trying to incorporate your background in communication to try and bridge that?
Well, I think that revolves a lot around employee engagement, and continuing to communicate with them throughout the week, letting them know that they're acknowledging their work. There's a lot of people, like you said, after 6 months, they're up and out of it. So I think a lot of them just want to be recognized, and there's a lot of ways to do that. With my communication background, I think I can do a lot in enforcing ways to increase employee engagement, as well as using this communication background to communicate with the right entities, or for example, like the legislature, to come up with ways to help improve the way things go, for example, for the academy or any other agency.
I like the way you kind of present yourself, very soft and subtle and straightforward. So a good characteristic, very. I'm not too good with the mic. I sound kind of mean, but with you, when you speak softly, so I guess you're communicating to me really well. So I like that.
Watch out for the eye contact.
Yeah. So so that my next question is culture. So I see that one of the challenges that we have too in the government, and just in the workforce, is the different culture that different families come from. The way the workforce is developed, starting from the home, going to the workplace, and there's a lot of challenges and grievances, issues. Sometimes like I said in previous with the other nominees, Ms. Bellis. Sometimes it's really just a misunderstanding between the way I'm communicating, communicating to the employee. And I've had this experience. So I'm asking, my question is, how can we promote culture or redefine our culture in the government, in the workforce?
Well, I don't think it's a lot to do with redefining it, more than balancing it with the modern ways of the way things are now. We have to kind of make changes. We have to maintain and sustain our culture, but at the same time implement practices from overseas, effective practices, and find a middle ground or a happy medium to find the balance between culture and progression with these new tactics.
Thank you for that. That brings me to my next question. Yeah, you walk into, Senator Manglonia talked about, phone etiquette and professionalism, raising that standard, raising the bar. And this is not to say by no means that there's no standard or we're not meeting the standard, but, the theme here is raising the bar, and trying to get to a next level of standards. So professionalism, what are your thoughts on, like just employees and professionalism in the CNMI as a whole?
That brings me back to the start of my jobs, which was mostly retail and customer service. And when I did my trainings in those jobs, it was mostly based on etiquette and customer service. So if you set that foundation, I believe, of customer service being above the bar and making that sort of a culture, I think that's something that will definitely improve. Like you said, we don't have a lack of customer service or like phone etiquette per se, but we have a lot of young and up and coming, very bright-minded individuals that can definitely adapt to a higher quality of that.
Thank you for that. Next question. I just want to talk about drug and enforcement in the workforce. And Senator Manglonia kind of touched on this. Mm-hmm. And I got that we need to be zero tolerance, but at the same time, consider it.
Yes.
Consider the situation, the circumstances. And I just kind of want to point out something that just because we test somebody and, they tested positive, doesn't necessarily mean that they're not their professionalism or their strength in the workforce is, we got to chase them out, we got to terminate them. And I like that you stated that we need to enforce it, but we also need to work on trying to integrate them back into the system, where through counseling and figuring out how we can, the CNMI best utilize that profession or that skill, so that we don't lose that. We're talking about retention, and some of these guys are, you go to extensive training and then you get caught, let's say, with marijuana, and you just get kicked out. We just lost a talented employee, but at the same time, we need to be considerate with our community, to gain trust, mm-hmm. especially like in enforcement workforce. Sometimes, if you get caught with, marijuana or methamphetamine, this kind of loses the trust of our community, our people. So I like that, you said that we need to be zero tolerance, but at the same time we need to be considerate, because it's not really just kicking out employees and then there goes that dollar, government dollar, that was spent trying to get this person or individual to a professional standard. So Madam Chair, I yield for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mendiola. Recognize Senator Paul Manglonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Because I consider myself Manamku, I'm not going to recognize you first. I'm going to recognize the gentleman behind you, our former governor, Benigno Fitial, and our First Lady. Welcome to the Senate and to all the families. So now I'm not going to call you Mr. Fitial because you're a young gentleman. I'll just say Patrick, no?
Yes.
So Patrick, I'm glad to hear that you have experience in employee grievances. I know that you're just coming into the commission, but I guess as working on human resources at CAC, do you see this still as a challenge to civil service maintaining I guess hearing officers? Because I remember back in July of 2020, I kind of raised that issue up to, I guess, the present chairman, Mr. Ray Muña, because there has been a lot of complaints about some grievances being unattended to or being addressed because of lack of hearing officers. And, delay in hearing these issues out is like they say, justice denied, no? And so, is that something you experience at CHCC?
No, it's something new to me.
Where
For
grievances not being addressed because there's no hearing officer or no legal
in general,
counsel?
no. That's not an issue at all at CHCC.
So anyway, when you get on board, I hope that's no longer a concern, because I know that even during the one of the public hearings in 2020 that was raised up, and I hope it's no longer concern. But I know that I guess under the transition report they're trying to address a permanent. But I hope that you still have the cooperation of Attorney General Office to give you hearing officers even if you don't have a dedicated attorney, So, and I'm glad that you're gonna be there, and I think there'll be less people calling our offices because I guess that's part of our job, getting these calls from constituents raising issues about their employment. Just 1 or 2 hours ago, this employee who went through academy, right? We spent money training, and then he worked for 5 years under this agency, and because the grandfather had no one to take care of, right? He had to resign. He actually resigned to take care of the grandfather, and they don't even advise that maybe you should take a leave of absence and 3
Family.
months and then take care of your grandpa. Maybe in 3 months things will change. And now, after he resigned, he wants to get back on the force. But these are kind of the things that I guess talking about employee retention, right? So maybe we should just look at those issues, and departments should be more sensitive and more, I guess, helpful, right? So I'm glad that you're going to be on that commission. There's one bill that actually I introduced, Senate Bill 2322. It's actually to amend it so that we can allow a government employee to borrow sick leave even if they're not immediate relative of a medically referred patient, right? Because now you have to be either the spouse or the brother or sister to be allowed to borrow sick leave, right? And why should that be the case if a person has been certified that he needs an escort, he or she needs an escort, right? They should be allowed to follow that patient to Hawaii or Guam if indeed the doctor certifies the need for referral, right? So these are things that I think works toward keeping employees, especially good employees.
Yeah.
So hope you get to read it and maybe hear comments from the commission, so that especially in our culture, sometimes they have live-in partners or close friends, right? And they're not married, and
Common law.
nonetheless they need an escort, and so that employee might have to be forced to resign because they're not getting paid. And then when you resign, you don't have health insurance, and then who's going to cover, right? The patient, no? So I hope you look into those areas, and the government becomes more sensitive, no? There's some concerns from the transition report, like for example, sick leave. They're saying that they shouldn't be required to get a doctor's slip if it's less than 5 days. Do you think that's an issue for CAC employees?
I think it's the fourth day at the moment.
I mean, they can just
Yeah.
find a doctor around the corner, right? But I mean, for other
Yeah.
government departments, you
mean, there's
support
some
that
issues
5
there,
days instead of 3 days to get a doctor's slip?
Well, I'm in support of 3 because just being in CHCC, I see a lot of instances and a lot of trends where that whole setup is kind of taken advantage of. There's a lot of people that know how to work that the 5 day without a doctor's note, and I see a lot of instances where I don't see a doctor's note at all. So yeah, that's an issue, and those fine details I think we can communicate a little better and improve on.
What about this recommendation about eligibility list being given to the employer, extended from 5 to 10? Is that very important?
Eligibility list in terms of onboarding.
Like
And
the applicants.
Yeah.
Right now they're presenting 5, and the recommendation says it should be around 10. Is that very critical?
I think it really depends on the position, but then that's not really so much on my field. But I'm just hearing that the eligibility list is being extended.
Are there a lot of requests for higher education leave right now at CAC?
I've only seen a very few that have gone out for sabbatical to get higher education completed, and then they did return.
I guess they're recommending 20 hours. Maybe they're taking online or as NSC.
Yeah, there's a lot of online classes and certification courses.
Also, you allow them 20 hours. Who's grant? I mean, whose decision is that? Is that part of your retention program?
No, I'm just the employee relations side. So when it comes to those matters, I yield to my chief of HR.
They're fairly applied. Right?
Yes, I agree. They are.
So you're actually encouraging that program,
Which program?
the granting of higher education leave.
Oh, yes.
And do you see that across the departments being applied?
Yes, I'm getting a lot of certifications and diplomas coming in since then.
And so that's why you're concerned. You want to focus on the merit system, no?
That's something I wanted to help improve in CHCC, and I think can also be improved in across all agencies.
What about within grade increases? Do you feel that's being exercised fairly?
I think it's fair, and I think it makes sense at our economical time right now to take a break on WGI.
Yeah, but I mean, when it was happening, I sense some employees are saying that some are going faster than others, coming in late, but others are being approved.
Yeah, there are a couple nuances to that. There's some where items are missed, and there's some instances where people just happen to be on the new pay scale, and some conflicts arose.
But at CAC, it's going fine.
It's definitely improved.
Um, there's a challenge here that was mentioned, and that is if should we let's say have to lay off employees in the future as was done in the past. Is that something that you feel our government departments are ready, or as far as how to apply that, and to be applied without politics, and to be applied without having to have a connection to bypass the reduction? Is that in place, do you feel, in our
I think it's something we can still work on. I don't think
something
it's
that commission maybe can look into? No.
yes, absolutely.
Okay. Hmm. What about there's this one recommendation to require an independent contractor to audit the office of the personnel? Is that something you've heard about, or?
Not recently, no.
Mm. And stuff. And I know that you have experience in communication. What do you think is needed at CHC as far as their website update and upgrade?
For
We
now,
have
I
a lot
think
to do there in that
yeah,
area.
I think the improvements we're working on are more on acknowledgement and engagement. So if nurses or providers are working X amount of hours every pay period, burnout is imminent. So it's important for us to acknowledge their work, and I think the important thing here is to apply empathy while being firm and fair, and that goes for that. It goes for what Dennis and Donald were talking about when it comes to zero tolerance. And what I'm basically aiming at there is implementing empathy in order to come up with fair and just decisions.
Madam Chair, I'm really glad to be a part of the confirmation process for Mr. Fitial. So I'm ready to act on his nomination whenever the Senate is. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Paul. But this committee has no authority to confirm. Thank you. My turn. What's your handicap?
It varies. I would say 9.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted to test and see if you understood that question, and you did.
Just making sure it was on the record.
Should you be confirmed by the Senate, I have no doubts that your education and your experience as an HR personnel would be a complement to your position as a civil service commissioner. I wanted to state that to you personally. But, you know, being the only military spouse here, military dependent, and if there's anything that the composition of the legislature has taught me, is that there needs to be a more prominent voice for military families and their dependents. And we, as military families, dependents in particular, remain invisible to larger conversations when it comes to job markets, education. And this is typical of a military lifestyle because they're nomads, they move a lot. Every 3 years, they're required to move. And so it's very difficult to compete for jobs or national placements for college. And to the average civilian family, they don't have to deal with this problem. So I wanted to bring that up to you because I wanted to see, or at least bring your attention to that matter, that they may be educated. You know, military families, children in particular, sometimes attend 4 different high schools or colleges in 4 different years on 4 different continents. That's just the nature of their lifestyle. So it's very hard to compete when we're asking for an educated person with experience. So I'd like to bring that to your attention, and hopefully you guys can work around that. And it's the same with college graduates who are not military dependents. We have this issue of trying to bring back our college graduates because they apply for scholarship here. And it's very difficult to get them back because some of the requirements are experience. Would you like to share with us how you may possibly, keeping in line with what you stated earlier about balancing the regulations and government requirements, can you share us a little bit with us a little bit about how you plan to level the playing field for, let's say, college graduates without experience or military families who do not necessarily have the experience because of their lifestyle?
I think with military families, a lot of data needs to be collected so that we can approach it effectively and efficiently. When it comes to that, we'll probably have that discussion with the Civil Service Commission, and we'll come up with productive ways to improve on that end. When it comes to college students, I think I am echoing the same things that I brought up earlier when it comes to communicating with them that we are making changes to improve as a Commonwealth. When we implement new practices from overseas, or kind of show them the results of our improved quality. I think that's something that'll be appealing to them, but it has to be communicated effectively. We're in a new digital era, and I think there are a lot of opportunities for us to present these improvements to our students. And it's exactly what I do as well when it comes to the summer youth program that I kind of head over, or that I head over at CHCC. We don't only just have them come over and do clerical work. We sit them down at least once a week, and we talk to them about their futures. We talk to them about where they want to go, and what's appealing to them, and why they would not be appealed, show any appeal to working here or going to school here. And I think a lot of them are in the same line of wanting to come back. It's just when they go out there and they experience something new, I think they reach a certain standard that they want to meet here as well. And when they come back and they see that that's how we operate, I think that's going to improve things.
Thank you. You know, there's a saying in the military, expect the best, but prepare for the worst. Your nomination comes at a time of fiscal struggle with the government. I'd like to hear your thoughts on how OPM and Civil Service Commission can lean forward in anticipation of, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, in anticipation of furloughs or RIFs, reduction in forces.
I
I'd
think
like to hear your thoughts
we
on
can just stay ahead of it. It's something that I believe the Civil Service Commission is very well versed in, and have addressed, especially in the last few months. And as we approach more potential situations or cases, I think that's something we can improve on each case by case. A lot of what I'm learning over there at Civil Service is dealing with that and a lot of other issues. And it's something that I intend to keep researching on and improving on so that I can bring something forward to the discussion.
Thank you. What instruments do you play?
Guitar, uke, bass, drums, keyboards.
One of these days we'll have you play.
I don't mind. I don't charge.
Very talented. Retention. I'm interested in that part of your experience. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. What types of incentives would you like to implement, or do you see we need to implement to retain qualified employees?
What kind of incentives? When it came to retaining employees at CHCC, besides acknowledgement and engagement, um, just providing opportunities to kind of pick up what they already have. So, like what you guys were talking about with training, you guys are talking about in higher education. All these opportunities are something that we can communicate and let them know is available, so that they know their worth, pretty much.
Thank you. I'd like to also bring to your attention some employees are not necessarily incentivized by money,
Right.
a raise. And one of, I think, the key incentives we can offer our employees is training. We come across employees who want to do better, but they lack the necessary training, and they've been asking for training.
Yes.
So I'd like to bring that to your attention, and hopefully something can be done at the civil service or personnel management to continue, because that's part of retention, is being up to date with your skills to do your job effectively and efficiently. So please keep that in mind should you get confirmed. One of the recommendations I made to the CNMI scholarship nominee, and also another civil service nominee that came before this committee, is I'd like to see a pipeline between the CNMI scholarship and OPM and the Department of Labor. And I hope that civil service or OPM can be the conduit for that, to capture those graduating from college to come back to the CNMI, because we need their education, their skills here in our government. So that's one of the recommendations I'd like to send with you. You mentioned about digital era. I'd like to ask this is the 21st century, to be able to offer the forms online on the website, so that people don't have to drive down there, or people who do not have vehicles can just print application forms or the checklist that they need to submit applications. That's all I have for today. If there are any other members who would like to ask further questions.
I think with the digital forms that you're talking about, there's a lot of ways we can improve that. Especially because coming from San Diego, I did credentialing for almost 2 years, and nothing was on paper. So it's definitely something I want to implement here and discuss with the team, whether it's using DocuSign or coming up with a different software to have packets completed for credentials or any qualifications or other documents. I think that's something that's very, very, very possible for us.
I agree. And it makes things more efficient for the government. And there's a permanent record of it. No more telling applicants
Not to
we
file
lost your documents, or, that kind of thing. And I agree, because when I was living in Hawaii, I could just register my vehicle online.
Yeah.
So I hope that happens here in our government. Like I said, I don't have any further questions. Recognize Senator Dennis Mendiola.
Not a question, Madam Chair. Just for the record, I'd just like to state a few things and probably just recommend, if you get concerned, confirm. So the reason why there's not so much, we don't want to grill too much on civil service, right? Because this is a new appointee, you're just getting your feet wet, and it doesn't make sense to ask a lot of these transition report and a lot of the issues. But what I do want to make a point. We're starting to see, this committee starting to see a lot more credentials coming to this committee in terms of appointment. And it's exciting because, a lot of the education or the people that go out there from our our CNMI, our great CNMI, goes out there for school, and then they come back, and now we're starting to see them in like professional fields or in leadership roles. So we're starting to see that a lot. One of the retention, I guess, retention plan that we can probably look into is education. Just bridging the departments with NMC, and we did that a lot in the enforcement field, where we work with NMC a lot. And as soon as they, for example, graduate academy, they get 40 college credit. You just have a few more to graduate your associates, and that's pretty much breeding more professionals in the job force. So and it doesn't necessarily have to be just fire, DPS. It could probably we can probably look at how we can bridge this with other professional field in the workforce. So maybe as an incentive program, that could be something that civil service or OPM can offer or work with. So
I
just
agree.
wanted to
Yeah.
put that for the record.
Alright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You for now.
Thank you. Recognize Senator Paul Manglonia for the second round.
Yeah, Chair. No, I just want to recognize a supporter of the nominee in the gallery, Senator Corina Magofnia, who's here, not a member of the committee, but I believe she's supporting you also. Thank you. Thank you. Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Paul. Welcome, Senator Magofnia. Anybody else? No? Thank you, Mr. Fitial. This committee has determined that your education and experience for the position of Commissioner for the Civil Service Commission, and that you possess the necessary education and experience and the character to serve well at the Civil Service Commission. It is my privilege, on behalf of this committee, to recommend to the full Senate body the confirmation of your nomination. You are hereby excused.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next item up on the agenda, we have miscellaneous. Do any of the members have anything to announce at this time? If not, I recognize Senator Donald Manglonia for the proper motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move to adjourn today's committee meeting.
Motion has been made and has been seconded. Are there any concerns on the nomination? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. It is now 3:16 p.m. and this meeting is hereby adjourned.